Hi, and welcome to the second episode of Drop the Die today. So, I wanted to make another quick video about character faults and flaws. The idea of your character being flawed in some way is sometimes hard to wrap your brain around. You want them to be strong, heroic, brave. You want them to be what you can't be. You would never venture into some of the places that your character does, but every single person, regardless of who they are, they have some flaw about them, some weakness that others can exploit, that they're extremely scared for the world to know about. And that's what makes people dynamic. It's what keeps people interesting, is not only that they're strong or fast or agile, but that they have a flaw, some little kink in the armor, something that's quirky about them. Your rogue being a kleptomaniac, not much of a flaw. Most rogues are, in my experience. But, again, my character in Crows in the Mist with Esper the Bard and Michael Barker from Be a Better Game Master, he did not believe in curses or magic. That's pretty serious in a D&D game. It's a low magic game, so it worked out a little better than I would previously think it would in your standard D&D affair. But it was still a huge flaw. These things are real dangers in that world, especially with the DM that I had. My rogue in my home campaign, he is extremely trusting of anyone who is homeless or down on their luck, urchins. He's extremely trusting of them because he's been there, and he expects them all to have the same outlook that he did. You know, turn over a new leaf, try something new, make the world better for yourself. And not everyone's like that. My fighter in the Adventures Leagues game, his name is Warwick. He's actually afraid of drowning. He's not afraid of water, so if it rains, he does not get disadvantage on everything. He is afraid of drowning. So anytime they're on a boat or anytime they come against a hazard that is particularly watery and or gravy with water involved, most of the time he kind of freezes. He's very cavalier about things. He'll run headlong into battle. He's the kind of guy that wants to put his bulk in harm's way and keep all of them safe. But not when it comes to water. When it comes to water, he has to be coaxed into traversing the ravine. He has to be pushed into the river. He is not going to go willingly. He is not going to think it's a joke, and he is not going to be happy afterwards. Is this easy on me as a player? Hell no. Because not only is it difficult in-game to realize, oh yeah, there's probably treasure in that pond. And no, shit. Warwick would never go in there. He wouldn't even think about having someone else go in there because it makes him nervous. So I'll just keep my trap shut. I won't say a word. But also, you're going to have people come to your gaming table who are going to see your weakness, especially if you admit it like Warwick does, that he's afraid of water. And they are going to incessantly, non-stop pick on you about it. They are going to make you regret every decision you've made as far as your flaw goes. It's to be expected. It happens in real life, doesn't it? It's happening at the game table all the same. So if someone's afraid of spiders, you better bet someone's going to eventually put a fake spider on something and ask them to pick it up. It's just going to happen. Same thing's true at the gaming table. And honestly, it's not that much of a negative thing. If you think about it, what better imitation can be provided to your role-playing to make it mirror real life than real-life circumstances? My character's afraid of water, so people constantly pick on him about it, shove him towards water, make jokes about water. It's been kind of taxing. I think it would be taxing on him as a character as well, but I love it. And I think that you guys will too, especially if your DM kind of takes these little bits that you give them about your character and makes them into this intricate, well-made plan. So one day I can imagine that my DM is going to put my character in a situation on a boat or near a river or lake that I'm going to hate as a player. But my character is going to have that make or break moment. That moment where he has to face up to his fears and decide, are my friends worth it? Are my friends worth me risking everything to fight this one fear, this phobia, to go get them? But there is a downside to having a fault for your character. Everyone else at the table is going to eventually see that fault, and it is your job to make sure that you remember it. I've had several people come to my gaming table who say, I'm afraid of owls, I'm afraid of heights, I'm afraid of whatever, as a joke, and then later on, they'll do it again, and I think, well, I guess their character's afraid of heights, or owls, or whatever. Then, later on down the road, an owlbear attacks, and they, ha-ha, run headlong into battle. No, no, no. No, 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 no. I don't believe your character would do that, kind sir and or madam. Oh, well, I was kidding before. You weren't kidding the 2 times you've done it. And the same thing is true of heights. And I hate to pick on Juice. He is a fantastic guy, and I love the One Shot group on Facebook. You need to go to the One Shot group. I'll put an annotation somewhere, or it'll be in a link. Or you can just look it up on Facebook, you lazy bastards. But in the Provokers game with Matt Click and Michael Barker, Juice said that his character was afraid of heights. So much so that he beat another character to a bloody pulp for pushing him down the stairs. That is fantastic. I love the idea of this stalwart dwarf, this cleric. He can heal wounds, and he's seen the world at its worst. He's been in situations that none of us will ever be able to comprehend. But he's still afraid of falling. That's so wonderful. But when careening 10 stories down in an elevator, falling as fast as humanly possible, he doesn't seem to have a problem. He's just like, oh yeah, I fly out of the elevator. Haha. Lands. I was expecting him to throw up, like have night terrors for weeks after, have the shakes. Instead, he was just fine. It's cool. Man, I flew. Ha! You can't fall if you're flying, right? It kind of ruined it for me, to be honest, because I love his character, just like I love everyone's character. Little tidbits of themselves are put into the characters, and it's always wonderful to be able to connect those back to people. But you have to be sure that what you say and you do for your character's flaw stays your character's flaw until something huge happens. For example, Razvan Dalka, my character in Crows in the Mist, is faced with this moment where he's been destroyed over the course of a day. He's nearly been killed twice. His mind has been set upon by several entities in this place. He feels as though his whole world has crashed around him. He sees this man in robes throwing fireballs as if it were commonplace. His whole idea of not believing in curses or magic or any of that stuff, it's been turned upside down and dumped out at his feet. He's immersed in a completely new world, and he either has to accept it or literally die. So he accepts it. And the next day when he wakes up and he spends his hit dice, the next day when he wakes up, He feels changed. He feels calm for the first time since he's been there. And then I had to find a new flaw for him. And that new flaw would be him seeking out this treasure against all odds. You know, he's so driven and so narrow in view that he sees no other path than to go, to find the treasure, to get it, and leave. So, I mean, your player needs to be, or your character needs to be dynamic, just like you as a player. You know, you might have been afraid of what was in your closet at some point, but eventually you needed that Snickers you hid in there at some point. You had to go get your shoes in the middle of the night, and you thought, damn it, I'm going to open the door. Your knees were rattling, you reached out with one little clammy hand, you turned the knob, flung it open, and nothing happened. You changed in that day. And your characters can too. So what I suggest all of you do is find the character you play the absolute most and give them a flaw. Something interesting, something unique but human. Have them be afraid of something. Have their fear be that they will let down their sister, that they will be trapped, that they're going to be claustrophobic. It's a pretty good one. Any of the phobias will do. I would not suggest arachnophobia, mainly because it is overdone. Your DM will throw spiders at you. You will have to rush to the aid of your party, and then you're going to have to just get over it like, You know, when you're fighting 7-foot tree blights who fire needles from their fingertips, a spider is not so spooky, right? So I suggest each of you give your character a flaw, and I would love if you leave a comment down below. Do you remember any unique flaws from characters you've played or characters you've played with? How did they change the course of the game? Did they ever come back around and be an interesting plot device later on? I would love to hear those, and I would love to hear your feedback. As always, it's been wonderful. I'm so glad that we could stop and get coffee. This place is amazing. Do you know they have live jazz here every other week? I know, right? I need to try the pork rinds next time. This has been Drop the Die.